All right, welcome to another episode of Violations and Insults with Steve McLeod. I'm Bruce Palmer. Before we get knuckle deep into a big show today, shout out to the sponsors, okay? Brian Curl Basketball, who are over in Taiwan with his select women's and men's team, kicking butt and taking names.
Yeah, and they've got a little wide bait team going with them as well.
They're
Debbie Alloway, good job.
Best thing in Queensland basketball, if not Australian basketball.
There you go.
Another shout out to Chris Weir from FIT Education, another one of our valuable sponsors. Thank you both, Brian and Chris. Now, we're going to get stuck into it. Our show today, we got shout outs, we got Daily Mail, we got the Stevie McLeod Awards, which include Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Most Valuable Player, and Most Improved Player. We got our dream team as of today.
Yeah.
How many rounds have they played? You've done your research.
We're in round 12.
Round 12. So it's a good time. Mid-season-ish, we'll select our dream team.
Yeah, and there's been let's just say some surprises, teams up and down. I still like to talk about when you say that every team there's got to be one that implodes.
What happens?
Yeah, injuries. And a team that outperforms.
Correct weight. Three things. You're going to be decimated through injury. You're going to have a team that implodes. The chemistry just isn't there.
Yeah.
And then you got an overachiever.
Yeah. Interesting for me, overachiever is Illawarra for me because they're a good team. I mean, they made it to the finals last year, but they've been at the top of the ladder all year. Another
one, and you're going to have this in our Daily Mail or our late mail, Tasmania. The Jack Jumpers.
Yeah.
Those venomous ants. they overachieve. They get the most out of their talent.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we're going to have, by popular demand and requests, and by the way, you can email us at violationsandinsults@gmail.com. Anything that you'd like us to cover, any criticisms or insults you'd like to hurl at Steve. But we've been asked, for coaches and beginning players, and we're going to start our Coach's Corner with just that, with beginners. So, Stevie boy, start with your shout-outs, mate.
My shout-outs. Shout-out for me, definitely Bryce Cotton, 59 points. It's nearly like he took on board when Bateman scored 51. It's nearly like Bryce said, well, I can do better than that, and he did. That's a phenomenal amount of points in a 40-minute game.
You mentioned earlier, too, that he's matched Andrew Gaze in the number of 40-point games.
Four in a row.
So
he and Andrew are there on their own in that stat. So that's pretty impressive. My other shout-out, and again, this is me eating a bit of humble pie, is to young man Terrell Harrison.
Yeah.
I can honestly say I've been a Bullets fan for some time. Been an ex-player and coach. And there are times that Terrell went through his career, I have to say, drove me crazy at times. But that guy has turned he is tough as hell. He's got beautiful moves around the rim. He scores at a high clip. He rebounds well. He's working. He's got better at the free throw line. It used to be bad, but he's definitely improved that as well. So I have to definitely say my shout out is Terrell, and mate, good on you. You've put up with my negativity towards you through some of the seasons, and right now I think you're one of the Brisbane Bullets' best players by far.
Well, I want to give a shout out to the Brisbane Bullets.
Yeah.
They're on a 3-game winning streak. And it's the style of play, the way they're playing. There's and I mentioned this to Greg Vanderjack, that there is a noticeable joy, right? They look like they're really enjoying themselves.
Yeah, I think they're also getting their feet in the paint. They're still doing. Obviously, every team does a dribble handoff and entries. I think there's a little bit less of that. They're actually turning the corner, getting their feet in the paint. Ironically, they've had these wins without Bannon on the floor, and I think Bannon, like good player, 6'11", great I think 6'10" or 6'11" or whatever. He's got good size, can rebound. I think he need. Oh, one little thing that we'll mention. We are in the middle of some torrential rain, so we do apologise if there's any background noise. But hey, welcome to Southeast Queensland.
Well, and we're in the Steve McLeod studios here at the South City Square in the Hilliard House. Shout out.
Oh yeah.
Goes to South City
And
Square, but we can't help the torrential downpour coming down in sheets.
Yeah, and I think I'm actually the oldest person in this building.
We'll check that out.
Yeah,
We'll find out. We'll go door to door.
At times, I find that enjoyable on the rooftop pool where I'm invisible, and the younger generation are enjoying themselves.
Well, that's great. Now, you also mentioned in our pre-production meeting about the Bullets are getting this done.
Yeah.
With, you mentioned...
well, Bennon's not there, and
Bennon's out.
He brings the ball down the floor a lot from, and obviously with him not there, the four-man hasn't been doing that as much. I think that works better for them. It's a great option from time to time if he's been pressured, but I think he's going to have to work himself back into, because they've definitely got their mojo going without him in the starting five.
They've also lost for the year Sam McDaniel.
Big loss.
Big
Massive.
loss. Great defender.
Yeah, and they've also, injury-wise, Bairstow's still out, and he brings a bit of that just do anything for the team type guy. And Luol Deng. I'm reserved myself because he was all world in the preseason, and he's been hopeless since. Anyway, he's got a broken hand at the moment, so I would love that guy to come back and show his potential.
He got kicked in the groin.
He did hurt his groin as well.
No, that's one of they've overcome the adversity of injuries.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? It's easy to fold. We're missing Dang, we're missing.
Bannon
has been big,
and McDaniel, like, he's superstar in my opinion.
Great one. Okay, now the Daily Mail.
The Daily Mail. Well, the Daily Mail I have talking about our little Jack Jumpers. They've parted ways with their third import. His last name is Sword, and if I had done all my research, I would have got his first name. But anyway, he's parted ways, and it's supposedly amicable.
He didn't belong there. I mean, I did my research, and going through my research with him, Wikipedia, you can't fault that. He's a Mississippi State grad, which, he was an all-freshman there. Then I look, he's bounced around everywhere. Yeah, I got it here. I mean, Wilkie Morsky, I don't know where that is.
I believe his first name was Craig.
Didn't I not say Greg?
Didn't you?
It is Craig. Erie Bayhawks, Royos de Hermosillo, Grand Rapids Drive. I mean, this is year after year. Astros de Jalisco. These are powerhouses. Omaha's Finest. Capital City Go-Go. Washington Wizards. He had a taste. Spartans Distrito Capital. And then the Tasmanian Jack Jumpers.
You're really showing off there with your...
Porque tenemos tantas pruebas. In other words, he's a journeyman.
Yeah, he is, and I just don't think, they would have brought him on board not knowing what McVeigh's status would have been. So anyway, that hasn't worked out for them. Breakers have lost 5 in a row, and that was a team that I was talking up at the start of the year. And is it a coincidence? And I feel sorry for Tarko. I feel sorry for Tarko. He did start in their last game, got 16 points, 9 boards. It's definitely not his fault. Something else is going on there that...
Well, they're making me look bad.
Yeah, well...
I was singing their praises.
Yeah, and their coach. But let's talk about their travel schedule.
Yeah, okay.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
No one else travels like they have to travel.
And that whole thing going to the States. I know they came back to the States and they thumped United.
Yeah.
Without Delhi, I think Illy played. either way, they were point guard shy, and they just cracked the whip on them.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow,
Yeah, from the travel, they had to go from the US to Perth.
you know, and I don't care who you are, like the coaching staff, they all look like chaos agents. They all dress alike, right? For those Get Smart fans.
They're very, very Finnish, maybe.
Yeah, very Finnish.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
But, you know, I mean, they wouldn't be used to this. This ain't Europe. This is where you got to go through customs every single time. And they're all, look like they're all international. So the only ones
travel
that wouldn't
just-
would be Sean Bairstow, Mitch McCarron. What other Aussies do they got in the squad?
Mate, Sean Bastow's holding himself up quite well
Yeah.
in his first year in the league.
Yeah.
He's doing a
You
good
know,
job.
I think he's going to only get to get better.
Yeah, he's a guard with good size.
I got a Daily Mail, more of a shout out that Mark Radford from the Jack Jumpers has re-signed for another 2 years. Now, Mark been involved in basketball long time, always in Tassie. He was a SCABL coach, did really well there. Does a lot with their junior development, right? And if you noticed, and I certainly have, that Tasmanian basketball is really on the upswing.
Oh.
You know, they're for the population of, you know that right off the top of your head, Steve.
Well,
It's not as populous as here in Queensland.
I just did my research on the population of Tasmania.
I should have prompted you.
Thanks for putting me on the spot.
But good on him, mate. That maybe should have been a shout out, not so much. But it was news this week that he has re-signed for 2 more years, and good on the Jack Jumpers for recognizing the great
interesting.
contribution he's
Roth
done.
has come out. He's an interesting character. He's got NBA pedigree himself. He's come out and said that he's the 20th best coach, and he was praising his team. So he's a funny guy. Like he always talks himself down, you know. But at the end of the day, he's the head of the snake, and he's what drives them. No doubt, you can see his passion.
Absolutely. And his knowledge.
Yeah,
Because it
absolutely.
ain't complicated.
Yeah,
You know, I think, for one, when they won it last year, the thing that stood out to me was they were in far better shape than United.
yeah.
And now you lose McVeigh.
That's a big loss. You don't realise how big he
That's
is.
a huge loss.
Yeah.
But they use the ball. I think Magne has stepped up offensively. And definitely Drimmich. Anthony Drimmich.
And then
really
McDonald
stepped
has
up.
come in
Oh,
late.
McDonald
I like
is
him.
right.
Yeah.
And finding McDonald and having faith in McDonald is a testament
Yeah.
to the Jack Jumpers.
Yeah.
And he's made a huge difference coming back.
I think without McVeigh there, Magne has had to step up, and he has. I think Magne has become an amazing big presence, you know. I notice when he's off the court, like it's a big jump down to their next bigs. And as we've said it several times, rim protection. Magne
He's
is
the best at it.
he's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So anyway, they're my daily updates for you.
Yeah, it's good, mate. Now we got a new section, Stevie Awards.
Yeah, well, thank you for putting these awards on to me as well. And I look, can I create as much controversy as D. Rucko in his best 15? I don't think so, because I'm just a little Aussie battler, and I'm
Well,
going to
mate,
share my opinion.
You're welcome to self-promote as much as you'd like. So here's
MVP.
You're going to go right into the MVP.
Okay.
Go ahead. Who
Well,
do you have?
I think there's 2 standouts at the moment. Is
You only get to pick one. Oh, no, that's a lie. 'cause,
I'm allowed to talk about it until I only make a decision. I think Cotton and Kendrick Davis at the moment in unbelievable form, both of them. And that for Adelaide, he talks himself down a little bit too because he's a young guy and he said he's still learning his trade. Well, he's come back from 2 games off and had 37.
Yeah.
He's leading the league in assists. It's pretty tough.
Pretty tough, man.
Yeah, but I'm going to go my MVP for the moment, Bryce Cotton.
Hard to argue that. I had, and really was on your recommend, Cotton, certainly.
Yeah.
I mean, he he impresses me every year that I see him play. Like, wow,
Yeah, is he ever go to age or like?
he's a stud, and Davis is a stud. Now
Yeah.
we're only 12 games in, 12
Yeah.
rounds in, right?
Yeah,
The
he's
guy
missed
that
too.
I'd still, and we're going to go because after we have your Stevie Awards, we're going to go to our dream team.
Okay.
But I'm still a big fan of Xavier Cooks, what he brings to the table. But I think Cotton and Davis
They're just a little bit ahead of everyone at the moment, Jack.
by a snout.
Yes.
Okay. Who's your rookie of the year?
Well, can I share something with you?
Please.
There's no rookie of the year in the NBL anymore.
Is that the modern era?
They now call it the Next Generation Award, and as long as you're under 25, that's the award. Why would you want to applaud the guy playing his first year in the league? Why would you want to make him feel good about it?
True.
Why, I personally, why would you not still have Rookie of the Year and the Next Generation Award? I get it. Under 25, they're often going to the NBA
Well,
or
again, it's in the modern era.
second best league in the world.
Did you? Hey, here's another one in the mail. Did you see where FIBA and the guy looks like an alien? The commissioner of the NBA.
Oh, yeah. It does look
I
like
should have done my research. Adam Silver
Yeah.
are talking about forming a new league,
I saw that.
and they said they want to try to get to the third best league in the world because it'll be NBA, NBL, and then this league, and they want to compete against the Euro League.
Yeah.
What would that do to our standing as the second best league in the world?
It could affect it.
Could drip down to third, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, do you have a rookie of the
Have
year?
you ever seen the crowds at some of those European games?
And the basketball they
Yeah.
play.
Yeah.
You know, here's the big difference, and everybody's going to think that I'm not on the refs, but it's something that really needs to be. If we're the second best, then we should, because the refereeing is inconsistent in the NBA.
Yeah.
Steve Kerr cracked the shits.
Yes, didn't he? What?
Yeah,
And rightfully so.
you know, absolutely. You know, bad timing, bad call at that time of the game. But this is when they lost to, was it Houston? Yeah, they lost the Rockets.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's been a lot of complaints about the inconsistency of the officiating in the NBA. Well, ours isn't exactly, you know, stunning. I mean, all of this stuff, everybody, we're going to start a league, we're going to do this, and the last thing they think about
Is the referees.
are the referees.
Yeah.
Where I'd prefer it to be, hey, that's the first thing. Do we have the refereeing cattle to
And-
service this league?
I understand that, and I guess just going back to the European basketball, there is no question that they have a different style of basketball to where America has gone, I think. And again, this is just my humble opinion, the AAU type tournaments and stuff is all about playing and not training.
Yeah.
The Europeans, their fundamentals are insane because it's just bred into them. That is the way to learn the game. I mean, you can get away with it a little bit with athleticism, right? But I mean, look at Jokic at the moment, the Joker. I mean,
Sengun, the center for Houston, whose coach just told him, I just read that in ESPN today, don't lose your European, right? Don't lose that. You
Yeah.
know, he's like the Joker,
Yeah.
only not quite as wide. But
Yeah.
you know, 7 foot
but
plus,
like the Joker,
skilled.
he barely dunks the ball. Like he doesn't need to. It's the same result. He just puts it in the basket. His vision is ridiculous. How well he passes the ball for a guy. But again, it's that fundamental focus of the European basketball is starting to stand out now as that gap between America and the rest of the world in basketball is getting less and less.
So can I get you back on track?
Yeah, sure.
Who's your rookie of the year?
Okay, so rookie of the year, I got to go with the guy. His name is Kareem Lopez. He's playing for. He's a next star, and you told me I couldn't have a next star as a rookie of the year, and I don't understand why. So I've gone
Well,
against
I didn't say you can't. Oh, yes, I did. So, yeah, go ahead. If you,
Well, if I follow your rule, I think the kid Pepper at Perth has done a pretty good job for a rookie of the year. But there's a lot of guys that are only 1 or 2 years into the league. You know, the Henschels, the Taran Armstrong, they're outstanding. I mean, I think those two guys are, you know, the world's their oyster, really. And the other guy I like, if you follow the generational award, is I love Will Hickey at Illawarra.
he ain't a rookie.
Yeah, but he's under 25.
Oh, well, okay.
That's
Well,
the
it is the modern
That's
era,
the
so-
generational
Yeah,
award.
yeah. How
Yeah.
about Kelly LePepe? Or
You
is
know-
it LePew?
No, it's Le Pepe. And do you know what? I seriously love him. And if we take out a next star, which he is not, he probably is the standout rookie of the year.
He's my rookie of the year.
Yeah, I agree.
I'd love to have him.
I just
Stud.
he like he plays against guys much taller than him, but his strength is but he's actually got quick feet. He gets up quick for rebounds. He's a bit like Charles Barkley type guy.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
he's back up on the rim.
Humps the D.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally what.
You wouldn't be kicking sand in his face if you were walking around,
Oh,
Phillip Island.
yeah, I would be making zero comments to him.
No. You would have in your youth, though.
Potentially.
All right, that's good. So we got most valuable player, rookie of the year. How about your defensive player of the year?
Yeah, this is a tough one as well. There's some really good guys. So special mention definitely to Mitch Norton, who I think is just a stud. Not only is he a stud, he is just a champion person that I've been lucky to meet a bit through Big Undies. Lyndon Briefies, that is.
Oh, yeah.
Because they were close when Lyndon spent time in Perth. And when Norton come from Townsville, but Mitch is a great guy. I think special mention also to the kid at Illawarra. His name is Wani Swaka La Bollock.
Could you please spell that?
No, it's
Okay.
impossible. So I did my very best to say that, and I apologise. But he's shutting down people.
Yeah.
He's doing a great job. But defensive player of the year for me is still Shea Ali. He's tough.
Shea Ellie. Yeah, I agree with you, mate. I agree with all three of those, but if we had to pick one, who would it be?
Shea.
Yeah, me too. Now, to me, the most important award is the most improved player.
Okay. Again, for me, special mention to Armstrong, Taran up in Cairns. That team's losing, so that's tough for him up there.
He's very good.
Yeah, he is. The guy Henschel at Perth is starting to really show his way. Most improved, I'd also put Will Magnay in that group because I think he's definitely showing how valuable he is to, like, he did a great job in the Olympics, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And he's doing a great job for Jack Jumpers. But I'm going to give the most improved award to Terrell Harrison.
That's mine as well.
Okay, great.
You know, I've been critical of Terrell.
His
Boy,
hands
he's
have improved.
Yeah.
Yeah, he used to have some, and he used to over dribble a little bit. He now picks his times when he dribbles much better, and he just is tough around the basket. You know, he takes his time now, doesn't rush. I think he's awesome.
Okay, one more quick recognition of Brian Curl, our sponsors, Brian Curl Basketball and FIT Education. We thank you very much. Anybody that's interested in sponsoring, contact Steve or hit us up through the email. We give you guys plenty of publicity. Now, our dream team, 12 rounds in, who'd be your point guard on your dream team?
I'm going to go Kendrick Davis from Adelaide, and in my 2 spot, I'm going to go Bryce Cotton. And that, I know he's predominantly a point guard as well, but his athleticism, both of them can defend.
And they can interchange.
Totally.
Yeah.
That would be tough as hell, those two together.
They're mine. Tyler Harvey would get a special mention, and obviously
Absolutely.
Chris Goulding. You can see
And
with United.
Trey Kell is also
Trey Kell.
pretty tough.
He's very tough. They this is going to be hard when they pick of course, it's the modern era. And if they have Derek do it, they'll be 16. right? But we're only going with 5. Point guard, scoring guard. Who's your small forward?
Well, this guy could probably play 1 to 5 if he wanted to. Is Xavier Cooks? I'm going to put him in 3 because I think he's tough as hell. Defend anyone. He can bring the ball up the floor. In the 3 spot, I would think his weakness would be his 3-point shot.
And you'd want him to be a little, because he gets to the line.
Yeah.
He's always attacking the rim, offensive boards, but you'd like him to be a 72% or better free throw
Yes,
shooter.
and that's his weakness. But if you've got Davis and Cotton in your team pushing the ball up the floor, he'll be in front of them.
He would be the very first, if I'm starting hey, Bruce, start a franchise. We'd like to put a team in Bean Lee. He'd be the very first guy I'd pick.
Okay, that's big. Yeah, he's a great player. What about our power forwards?
Well, and if we were to do this right now, I don't know his first name. I haven't done my research. Hurt. Is it Hurt or Hurts?
Hurt for Southeast Melbourne.
Singular from Southeast Melbourne.
Yeah, he's a walking. His name is Matt Hurt, by the way, because I had done my research, and he's averaging just under 20 points a game.
Yeah.
And even against the Bullets the other day, he had, I think he had 27 or something like that. But he was 11 from 14 or something, like high clip.
Yeah.
I would have went to him when the Bullets were making their run. I would have said, "Hey, let's just." He's got a bit of that European style about him when he's in the low block.
He's got an arsenal. Who's the point guard at Southeast Melbourne?
Well, Walton had been injured, so they didn't really, get. Is
it Foxworthy?
No. Owen Foxwell is.
Foxwell.
He is.
Damn, my research.
He would have to be up there, one of the most improved as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think he thinks score first. And there's nothing wrong with that, except
he's
when
quick.
You
He's
need
got 5
buckets.
fouls. He's got to learn. He's got to learn to control his.
You got to
energy.
learn. What are the skill sets of point guards? Time and score. Who's got the hot hand? Who's got the mismatch? Who's in foul trouble? What's the team foul count? Now, us as coaches keep that information available to
Great
them.
point guards already know it.
They already know it. And you played the position.
Yeah, well, I like to think that a point guard is an intelligent person.
There you go.
Yeah.
Should be
And look,
smartest on the team.
And sometimes I've often described some of the 4 and 5 men. It takes a long time for the oxygen to get up into their head. Do you know what I mean?
The other great thing about you was about chemistry. You just made the chemistry work. Okay, who's your center? Dream team center.
Well, did we name it? Oh, you went Hurt, but I also want a special mention to Doolittle out of Perth.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a lot of scoring. He doesn't have to do massive scoring, but he can. I've seen him defend point guards.
I've seen him play the point.
Yeah, I think I have so much time for him. He's a stud.
He's a special talent.
Yeah, I like him. So anyway, special mention for him. Now we're going on to the 5-man.
Yes, sir.
Well, you've got to have Magnay in there. I think he's an impressive 5. But you've got to say that Sam Froling at Illawarra is doing a pretty damn good job.
Yeah, and he could also be a mention for most improved. I love Sam Froling.
Yeah.
When I had the opportunity.
I don't understand the man bun.
Well, it's a look.
Yeah, well, I just don't understand the man bun. Full stop.
You could do a man bun. I can't. I'd have to go with Rastafarian curls. But I use Sam as a ball handling 4. We had the under-20 team. We had Tyrell.
Yeah.
Was a young
Tyrell.
inexperienced. He got in foul trouble. 2 fouls first quarter. You only get 5. And then we used Sam because we didn't have a point guard. And I remember Leonard King telling me, "Hey, this team will win it." And I remember when we came to trials, I'm looking like.
But remember,
we don't have a point
Flynn
guard.
Cameron when he started, He
I think
started.
he went to DePaul.
He went to college, so he didn't
Yeah.
come to the. He's
Had
a-
we have had him,
Correct.
along with Kraus, can't remember his first name, tough kid, but not a point guard.
Yeah.
All the things that we said, the characteristics, we just didn't have one.
Yeah.
We
Flynn.
played Nick Stoddard a little bit there, and it's if you haven't played that position, you know, and in that tournament,
It doesn't come natural to you.
no.
And that's why some people don't understand the difference between scorers who play in a two spot. Yes, they can bring the ball up the floor, but they won't be the ones making the decision on the mismatches or what play we're running. That's what great point guards do.
Truly. So, you know, for me, I would go with my point guard would be Davis
Okay.
with Cotton in the two.
Yeah.
And again, they can interchange. I'd go with Cooks
Okay.
in the three, and then I'd have Hurt in the four. And the Magne Frawling, I'd go with Sam
Okay.
right now, only because his offense is just that little bit better, though Magne's improved.
Yeah.
You know, he's certainly improved.
And I would love for some of our listeners out there to email us and tell us where we
Yeah.
got it wrong. Tell us what you think, who at this stage in the NBL. It's an interesting competition issue because other than Illawarra, everyone's having their moments where they're just not going so well. You know, they were in thought Sydney be further up the train. Melbourne have just lost a couple of games and looked games that they shouldn't have lost that they've
If they're
lost.
getting everybody healthy at the right time, and I think Oliver now has shed his pelt, he still has some weight to lose.
Yeah.
But he's playing with greater energy.
Yeah, definitely.
He's a talent that, and you go back and go through the Wikipedia, he don't stick anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a reason for that. If he can just push himself away from the dinner table, get in a little bit better shape, right? And Adams having the back injury didn't help, and he's looking,
Oh, well, there you go.
Explosive.
The decals.
yeah.
But apparently they're better these days. But he's got a back injury from a decal.
Yeah, I mean, guys are falling all over the courts all over the time, but it's nothing that, you know, it's the way they got to do it. I would have thought that you could do that digitally for the viewers at home. They want it for the crowd to see. Watch these guys slip on the tangerine thing.
Yeah.
Hey, the Bunnings sign caught a guy. It's like booby traps.
Yeah. Anyway, I end my career. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Now, something by popular demand, I know that our good friend Dan George at Brisbane Grammar School was asking for this. He wanted something for coaches,
Yes.
but we want to make it for coaches and for developing players.
Yep.
So we're calling this section Coach's Corner. All right, once again, a shout out to Brian Curl Basketball and FIT Education. Chris Weir from FIT Education, thank you very much. Brian Curl, who's over in Taiwan doing his thing. This is now a new segment. We want to put it in, you know, every podcast. It's Coach's Corner.
Well, we've had a bit of a request from our.
We have, yeah, a number of them. But Dan George, who I was speaking to recently, said I'd really like to get into the coaches. But we're going to start with those in the early stage of learning.
Yeah.
Right now, that isn't an age thing because you could be a 16-year-old. We had an 18-year-old. Hey, 6'10". Everybody said you should be playing basketball. Came in, so he's in the early stage of learning.
Yeah.
When you introduce anything new, anything, you could have NBL players, and we're going to teach you guys how to match up out of a zone into man-to-man and win. They go to the early stage of learning, even though they might be quite polished
If they've never
players.
done it before.
They've never done it before. They're in the early stage of learning. Some of the characteristics of being in the early stage of learning, you teach something new, a drill or a skill.
Yeah.
They are going to self-talk the instructions given to themselves. So, coach, they're not going to do it at game speed yet because they're processing what they have heard into movement. Another thing that we've got to be aware of when teaching motor skills, we all learn in different ways. I know I am a visual learner. If I can watch somebody do it, I can emulate what I see. I am also a kinetic learner. That's my physically doing it, right?
Yeah.
And then I can take corrections, and again, if I see it, I learn it quicker. Some people they read it, right? Some can auditory learning. I'm worst at that,
Yeah.
right? I know how I learn, and I know when my players come to me and go, now if they're here and he cuts there and the defense, I got to see it.
Yeah.
I got to have them write it out.
Or,
So-
or on your whiteboard, like your basketball court board. What do we call it?
Every coach, if you're coaching under 10s, under 12, get a whiteboard.
Oh, absolutely.
You're doing the kids a great
and,
service.
And some people go, I'm not confident with a whiteboard. Take the whiteboard to training.
Yeah, it's an acquired skill.
Absolutely. If you're not confident doing that, and you're not drawing up complex plays. You're just showing them, hey, I want you to do this drill, and you can demonstrate it. You can quickly show it in 10 seconds on your board, and that's how you'll get confidence with that. But like in any setting, under 10s, even just sending them back on the court, and you say, hey, we got to do this really basic way to get the ball in bounds.
Yeah.
Like there's something, no matter what happens, we have to inbound the ball in basketball. So you need to teach your kids how to do that.
Well, another thing that'll help facilitate that, if you have a whiteboard, if not on a wall,
Yeah.
post up what we're doing
Yeah.
and diagrams to the activities you're going to do,
Yeah.
particularly early, right?
Well, and this just gets back to preparation, and I understand that a lot of parents, they have they're doing it just to help their kids out because no one else is coaching the team. But the more prepared you are, the better your session will be. I even used to, I learned this from my mate Billy Backamus in the US where I went to school.
Name dropper.
Yeah. I used to love this. Put the practice up, and the players would see the practice before we even start. And we would always put a quote of the day at the bottom because you'd say to one random kid, hey, what's the quote of the day? And if they don't know the quote of the day, they haven't read the practice schedule.
Yeah.
And it's just a fun thing. Like the kids can actually, oh, great, we're doing that drill. I love that drill. And you will find that the kids are then using different ways of learning
Yes.
to do that, and that's seriously not hard to do.
No, and I think so. Some important things for these beginning coaches.
Yeah,
Come prepared.
absolutely.
And you got to be flexible. There's always going to be somebody sick, somebody hurt.
Yep.
This is why I really encourage, if I'm coaching the under 12 A's, I want the under 12 B's with us,
Yes.
right? Because we all learn at different rates too.
Yep.
And a kid that, you're looking like, hey, he can't catch. They'll acquire that skill if you're doing it repetitions.
And perfection never happens. It's in a drill. It'll never happen. And you want to do the drills as well as you can, but if you're trying to aim for perfection, that every kid gets the drill, you got to be doing it for 20, 30
You'll be
minutes.
disappointed.
The kids have got to be bored as well. Remember, one of the other things that's so important as a coach is that you got to make sure these kids love basketball. You got to make sure they enjoy training. It's up to you as a coach, and that's where people who don't prepare, you see them just doing the same drill over and over for an hour.
Yeah.
And the kids are bored shitless.
Stevie, I go in. The thing that just blows me away, you go and you watch, and they've got a full court with 2 baskets, and you see a line of 12 kids
With 2 balls.
shooting. One guy shoots a layup, go to the end. You're wasting time.
Yeah.
You really are. You're a disservice.
Someone said, like, I'll often have 3 lines even 4 at one basket if you've got enough balls, at both ends. So you get because it causes chaos.
Yeah.
Because guess what? A game is chaos.
It can be chaotic.
Yeah, well, just rebounding, and look, your balls could hit but that's not the point.
We understand that this is interesting. I was talking to Alan West. I'm going to drop a name, Al Westover.
Is
He's down in
that
Melbourne.
Alan Westover, friend of yours with the pillover?
Yes.
Yes, that's
It
the
was
Palmer and Westover knee guard. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then Mark Thompson was your sort of like.
Well, he would have been wrapped in neoprene, would he not?
Yeah, well, Tomo would have been like your high-flying athlete wearing it. You must have at the time, because he was 12.
His nickname was Fully Grown at 12.
Fully at grade 5. He had hair. I think we mentioned this before. He had hair on his palms
Yeah.
when he was about grade 5.
Polyphila.
Yeah.
That's what they called him.
Anyway,
He filled up holes.
Pivot. Let's go back. To
Okay, let's
just a little
pivot.
bit of shit on Tomo there anyway.
Yeah, every show. So we understand that there's limited resources as far as courts. And in Melbourne, in Victoria, which would have 10 times the indoor basketball courts that we enjoy in Brisbane. Now, the Gold Coast is building facilities. Our facilities, Jesus. Either way, you got limited space. There's usually, you get a half court, and then there's another 2 teams on this half court. So you need to be organized. You need to know what skills do we need to work on.
And if you've got a team, they most likely have a ball each. Bring their balls.
Bring your basketballs.
You can never have enough basketballs.
And I want to hark back when I coached Jay, my other son, under 14s. I tell him, come in a half hour early. I put dots up on the Besser brick wall. So we'd have, 4, and they pair up because we only had 8 on our team. And we're working on
shooting.
And again, Mike Dunlap, grip, target, right? Body alignment to target, upward thrust, and follow through. And I keep, mate, all the time, and I'll
look,
be
you
using
can use
keywords.
I've used some of those things for outside of the basketball in my own private life, but we'll talk about that with thrust.
Upward
and
thrust?
Yeah.
Okay, upward thrust. Anyway, that's from Mike. I read he wrote an article on shooting. And again, most intelligent guy in the coaching fraternity that I met, Lindsay Gaze, Mike Dunlap, Lute Olson, the late Lute Olson, Don Meyer, right? I mean, you learn from everybody. Jeff Van Gundy's thing on pick and roll basketball. But
the resources today have never been greater.
Never been greater.
We couldn't just go on the internet and learn. We had to actually go to coaching clinics. And,
and if you're going to do this, you owe it to your players, and you owe it to really your club, your association. Keep your session plans.
Yeah, totally.
And research, like the coaching toolbox is a great resource. But what I did when I was in China, I started I've got a huge library of drills.
Yeah.
A lot of them have been translated into, what do they speak, Cantonese? No. They've been translated into Chinese writing. I can't read it. It looks like chicken scratch to me, but I keep those. And I don't like to, because when you go through, and again, I just want to talk again, another thing that I learned from Mike Dunlap, the 6 essentials of good drilling. Explain what we're going to do and why it's important.
Yep.
Then 2, walk through the procedure, right? You go from line A to line B to C. I rebound, I pat, get all that, walk through that to make sure it's understood. Don't show them, right, with a demonstration. Do you all get that? And they nod their head because they have the attention spans of moths, right? This is all new verbiage.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful with the language. You got to be careful, no sarcasm with learners, right? Which is a problem you had.
Yeah, but even young kids, for a warm-up, I'll use the geometry of the court.
Absolutely.
Just to jog, hey, get to the short corner, get to the elbow, everyone get to a baseline. There's 2 of them, get to a sideline. So this is the language that we use, and you can use it as a warm-up.
Yeah.
They're dribbling a ball, and you say, right, everyone get to the jump circle. Hey, get to the middle hash mark.
Yes.
Whatever language you use.
I think giving them a simple glossary of terms
Unbelievable. Have
is
to.
really
Because
important.
you're talking to them in another language. And a young
Can I
coach...
finish the
and
6 essentials?
You can.
And then I may interrupt me at any time.
Yeah, I try to.
Where did I get interrupted last? So
Are you up to 3?
what we're doing, why it's important, go through the procedure. After the procedure is understood by everyone, then you add the challenge.
Yep.
Ball, defense, everything, fourth thing, everything is done to time and score.
Yeah, that's important.
And yeah, to teach game sense. The game is played to time and score. I see senior coaches doing an activity, no time, no score.
If you've got a clock at your basketball court, you use that.
And if you don't, you use your phone.
Correct.
And blurt out, how much time is left.
Yeah.
The score thing, we did as you know, because we've worked together, and it was a pleasure to work with you.
Likewise.
Great coach, Steve. But, we'd get them into 4 groups of 4.
Yeah.
Or 5 groups of 4. Or 4 groups of 5.
Yeah.
And when they're playing, I'll ask somebody on a given team, what's your score? Or ask the team, what's your score? And if they gave me 2 different numbers, they would go to 0.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to know the score.
Correct.
And
that's
the
how
time.
that's how you teach.
That's how you teach.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one is correct on the run.
Absolutely.
And this is probably where I know I'm not great. I could be better, but because I want to keep my eyes on everybody. But when working with you, it was really good because when I have another good coach, and I was last season, I assisted a little bit with Bill Ellis.
Yeah.
Really good coach, and Michael Heffernan. So we had 3 bodies, but the thing we never had was 10 players.
Yeah.
Right, in our youth league. This is another thing that I give.
See, some coaches think, the less players, training is easy. I find it actually more difficult.
Well, I remember this when I was in charge of our senior teams at the Brisbane Capitals. I just want 12. I go, great. You have 12. You'll have ensure 7 will be showing up at practice.
Yeah.
There's going to be illness, family thing, work.
Absolutely.
So you got to have a minimum of 16 to ensure you have 10.
Yeah.
And you and I, 22.
Yeah.
I don't cut guys. They could quit, or they do something that is so egregious to their teammates where then I have to let them know. But that's probably the skill that I would ask all coaches to master. And the last one is repetition is Lord and Master.
Yeah.
Right? And even when you think, I don't have to do this activity. I don't have to work on shooting anymore. They got it. Yes, you do, because it's the most important skill. And I want to finish this up with your opinion of, now we got kids in the early stage of learning. They're beginners. We agreed that shooting is the number 1 skill.
Yeah, you've got to be able to, to shoot. And the beauty of today, if you find reputable stuff on the internet, even if you're not a confident coach, you can find simple drills and to go through the process of shooting. You look up Steph Curry shooting. You'll find Steph Curry actually talking and showing you what he does, right? You just got to have the consistency with that. But every drill, obviously, people might say, don't you do any defense? Yes, we do. But we're at all times focusing on all the skills and especially shooting. Everything we do, we're blocking out. Everything, we're playing defense correctly.
Yeah. What other skills now for our beginners would you say are shooting is critical? So it's catch and shoot, layups.
Well, it depends on their age. You've got to, I call it body movement fundamentals. They need to be able to not travel. They need to understand how to get 2 feet in the paint. And you do drills where they will maybe dribble the ball, get 2 feet in the paint and shoot. So you're working on shooting, but you're also working on how to stop. That's one of the other subtleties of this game, that you've got to be able to stop or change direction. And if you just think young kids know how to do that, you'll struggle. But again, it can be warm up, quick. Do it at the start, minute. Just hey, pitter patter of the feet and go to the left. Pitter patter your feet, go to the right, and they start getting balanced. They need to have a wide stance to play basketball.
Yeah. So with shooting, and here's the thing I always do: if a kid cannot touch the backboard, I want their palm when they go in for a layup. I want their palm pointing to the white square.
Yeah, right.
Right. It's the same mechanics as we're teaching them to shoot from 10 feet out, and that's easier now with their non-dominant hand. So you got to layups are critical. Catch and shoot. Cut, catch, and shoot, right? The last one's shots off the dribble. So after that, I think my opinion is passing and catching,
Yeah.
right? And I see a lot of guys, and I just want to make a comment, everybody's doing individual workouts. Mom and dad are paying
Huge money to people that,
and
wow.
everything dribble, 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 dribble. You look on, social, dribble, 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 dribble. Mate, I want less dribbling.
Correct.
I want more passing. I want more cutting.
Movement, spacing.
Yeah.
And anything you do, you maintain that. If you do a shooting drill, but they relocate to somewhere else, you can make things up. Just space, movement, and again, to have that movement, if they've never been taught how to cut, you've got to teach them to cut.
You got to teach them how to cut, and you got to teach them spacing.
Correct.
Right? And now you can evolve all that into penetrate, kick, pass,
relocate. Yeah.
And that's
what your shooting drills should look like. If
Yeah.
hey, we're shooting for a minute, keep your score. But it's pass, relocate with my teammate. That's just a simple drill, and you stay within your shooting skills. If I can't shoot threes, don't be shooting threes.
yeah.
Be in a range that you can make the shot.
Look, we're going to have a lot of, because Coach's Corner is going to stay a staple by popular demand.
Yeah.
I think the next one we're going to go talk a little bit about teaching beginners defense,
Okay.
right? The four things, again, Mike Dunlap, in his 113 video, which was done, he had players demonstrating it. He did it on a whiteboard with chalk. No, I'm sorry, a chalkboard.
Yeah.
But ball pressure.
Yeah.
We want every pass, dribble, and shot contested. Communication.
Yeah.
Worst thing. So you got to be specific on what are you teaching them to say.
Correct. Not
and
just yelling out, talk. What do you want them to say?
Yeah, exactly. So, I got all the time. I didn't matter. I got 13. I got 4 every time.
Yeah.
I got ball.
Yeah.
Help right,
Yeah.
help left. Start with that, right? And get that, because it's a condition.
Do not assume
skill.
that-
Don't assume it, right? So then rotation. The hardest thing, according to, and we've seen it in our coaching, but Brian Gorgon says, the hardest thing in basketball is going from one defensive stance and position to another on the flight of the ball.
Yeah.
Right? And you find a lot, and this is one of the reasons I had a good talk with Christian Pang and Toby Curl because they're coaching the team in Taiwan, about subs, roles. He goes, I don't see 11 and 12 getting a lot of, they're paying to go there. They're not going to get a lot of time. And I go, well, mate, if you look at these 4 things, if you look at, in the words of Tom Marr, the relentless persistence indicators. Am I sprinting my lanes? Am I getting below the line of the ball on offense and defense? Am I talking? Right? Am I moving on the flight of the ball?
They're great indicators to help you who you're subbing in and out.
Correct. Because if you're doing this, can you go 5 minutes? Because all these things make your team
They'll
better.
be putting their hand up and asking you, can I come off?
Well, you got to let them know it's not a personal thing, and it's not one thing. But when I see the talk go, I see you're not sprinting to get ahead of the ball on offense, below the ball on defense. If you're not moving in a stance, sprint to position, get in your stance. You have no effort to block out, you're tired. 2 or 3 of those, you need a rest. Now, when you come in for me, You need to be productive. And then we have substitute production indicators. Get a transition layup.
Yeah.
Get ahead of the ball and get a layup.
Get an offensive rebound.
Get an offensive rebound.
Take a
Those
charge.
two things lead to what? Free throw attempts.
Yeah.
Right? Those two things will increase your chances of getting to the free throw line. Take a charge. The best play in basketball.
Correct.
Get a deflection. Right?
And there's a lot of talk about Tyson.
Dyson Daniels.
Yeah, Dyson Daniels. Like they record the deflections.
Yes.
And people don't realise deflections lead to getting the offense out of their shape. It makes them be in places they don't want to be. It puts pressure on the offense.
Exactly right, mate. And you know, like, how long do I need to rest before I don't want to go down to my resting heart rate as a coach? But if you're producing, I'm watching, mate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's helping us.
And if you explain this to your team, they understand why I'm not on the court, because you know what? You're not sprinting.
You know, one of the great things, I'm so lucky that I played for Ed Gorgon, Brian's father, great coach. But he would put our point guard, 2-man, 3, 4, 5, they'd sit in the first row. First point guard substitute sat behind Brian. Brian was our point guard. My brother Scott was our 2-man. Greg Haas sat behind him. I started, like, am I going to start in the 3? Well, Bob Trowbridge, 6'8", rightfully earned the spot. And I was sitting behind him, and then I became in the 3rd row. I was 10. We went 29-1 that year. Lost to Bourbon Day, a whole nother thing. And then the 4, Bill Boyd, played at USC, Bob Boyd's son. And we had a 6'11" center, Troy Jones, that went. But we had all the guys
But everyone,
exactly where you were.
I mean, now we're talking not under 10 here. We're talking at a...
That's more of an elite.
Yeah.
You know.
But the thing is, even if you are coaching at a rep at under 16, under 18, you need to make sure that they understand where they sit in the rotation so they're ready to go.
Correct.
And if you don't have that conversation with them, and even if you, for whatever reason, a coach have decided something different during the game, you still explain it to them post-game, or the next training session you say, hey, Billy, I didn't get you on because of X, Y, Z. Yeah?
Exactly right. Look, and the coach's corner is going to be fun. Once again,
please send us some things you would like us to talk about.
Exactly. And I hope for those who did put in, and we always want to start with the beginners because that's the hardest to me. I look at coaches that have coached those in the early stage of learning. I admire them more than I do. You know what I mean?
You got athletes help.
Correct. But you made a point. It's got to be fun.
Yeah.
You know, we want to develop their love of the game. And, you know, every practice session should involve a warm-up. First off, it's a preview. This is what we're going to do. You mentioned your coach to put it all up on the board, but I would still go through, this is what we're working on today, in order. And then, you know, a warm-up, then a skill session.
Yeah.
Then, in the words of Brett Brown, name drop, we got to gamify that.
Yeah.
If we're working on skill, then we want to make that competitive.
Yeah.
You got to have scrimmaging,
Yeah.
right? And then you have a cool down and review, then preview your next session.
Yeah.
Stevie?
Yeah.
Once again.
It's a pleasure.
Once again.